Good afternoon, everybody. So we're back for the cupping, a little bit of explanation around it, brief demo, sorry, and yeah, just showing you some of the cups that I use, why they would be used, what can be helpful and beneficial about them, and I've kindly got a body this time for me to do a little demo practice on. She's very kind. So you're very welcome this afternoon. I am Fiona McDonough of Love Clinic here in Gort Town Centre. You see my Bridget there behind me? I had her commissioned some time ago. So if you don't know, Bridget is the goddess of healers. So among other things. So I practice acupuncture, craniosacral therapy, sound therapy, both one-to-one and in groups. I'm a yoga teacher and I am a Moon Manor circle facilitator. So cupping doesn't necessarily, actually there's a bit of debate raging at the moment, that I've read in relation to, is it part of acupuncture? It would be now accepted as being part of TCM, but it is a standalone therapy. I've actually come across quite a number of people, particularly from Eastern Europe actually, who would tell me, that I've treated here in Ireland, that they would tell me that their grandparents or they had an auntie that would have practiced cupping on them to boost their immune system and for overall wellness. So it can do that among other things. So let's have a look at what different types of cups. So initially cups would have been in bamboo. Now I don't actually have any bamboo cups, but what I have here is these are a couple of glass ones. So I suppose to give them a little bit of context in terms of size, I mean, you can judge my hand size, but this is a 30ml bottle of oil, and that's the height of that cup, and that's the diameter. So you're talking a couple of inches across. And then we've got a teeny tiny one here, and that's its diameter. So these glass ones are used with flame. You insert the flame up them. I'm not going to demo that one now. You insert the flame up them to create suction and pop them on the body. They're great for static cupping or stationary cupping. You can move them slightly, but because they're glass, they're a little bit heavier and they have a tendency to come off the body a little bit easier. So sliding and gliding cupping, we would use silicone cups for, of which I have a number of different sizes and kinds. So this is one. Again, here is the 30ml bottle of oil, just so that you have a reference on size, a couple of inches across in diameter. This is a smaller version of same, and there it is. So if you have an idea of what a 30ml, I was trying to think of something that everybody would know the size of. So this is a 30ml bottle of oil. These are a type of cup called a contour cup. That's a really big one, so we would use that on the glutes, could possibly use it on the sides, the lower back, the bigger muscles of the body. Obviously the smaller ones, smaller muscles, but you can use the smaller ones on bigger muscles too. This one would be not dissimilar in size from this one, a contour cup as well, and that's the teeny tiny one of those. And then I have a set these are called negative ion cups. So these are only for stationary cupping, so you wouldn't glide or slide these ones. So why use cupping? So what cupping can do, a little bit actually like the facial rollers I was talking about earlier on, it stimulates the skin and improves circulation, can aid healing, is very helpful for muscles or muscular related issues. So in my clinical practice, how would I use them? So if I had a person who came into me and they had a bit of neck tension, sore shoulders, could be due to anything, neck tension may be leading to a neck headache, or a headache, not a neck headache. Well, even the back of your head. So if you think that the musculature of your body, you know, your trapezius muscle goes from your mid back to the back of your head, and if you've got a headache here, not necessarily it's due to tension, but it could be. And by relieving the tension of the upper back, you potentially relieve the tension from the top of the head. Fascia is a very interesting subject, has come to light in recent years. So years ago, when bodies would have been dissected for medical purposes, they would have taken the fascia off the body and put it to one side, thinking it was of little of no value, almost like adipose tissue. It's akin to that. But they've now realised through different research that the fascia is a highly nerve enriched area. And what has that got to do with cupping? Well, the fascia is in underneath our skin. It's like a skin underneath our skin. In my craniosacral training with the Body Intelligence School, we would have watched on video a number of dissections of fascinating to see. It really helps you to put the body together if you're interested in such things. So fascia is like a skin underneath the skin, and we saw actually this body, it was like a Spider-Man suit. It's amazing, and full of this nerve rich, it's full of nerve endings. So fascia surrounds tissues, it surrounds organs, it connects the top of the body to the bottom of the body, the left to the right, the front to the back, the inside to the outside. Your left little toe to your top of your right shoulder, fascia connects it all, because it's like a skin beneath your skin, and it's surrounding everything else. It's amazing. As you might gather, I waffle on about it. But what's that in relation to cupping? So when you cup somebody, I'm going to demo with this. This is a silicone cup. It's nice, nice small size to use on the arm. So you see, you lift the skin. I'm just going to show you there. See the way the skin is lifted? So if I apply a little bit of an oil, so to slide them, so I'm not only lifting the skin, I'm lifting whatever is underneath the skin. So there you go. And I'm sliding using the oil. So I'm moving the skin, I'm moving the fascia, I'm affecting the muscle underneath the fascia, and lots of other things around it. Inflammation, improving circulation. So when I do this on somebody, and I can actually feel a little bit of a knot in my own arm there, just there, you can see a little bit of a red mark has come from it. It's not painful. It looks like it should be painful, but it's not. So what it does is it can sometimes bring out the heat, and it can sometimes induce stimulation. So that sense of moving things a little bit more actively in the body. And actually the cups, by gliding them, you can feel, almost like you can feel with your hands, the bits that get sticky and stuck. And that might be where I would leave a cup stationary. So you may be familiar with some pictures of the likes of Gwyneth Paltrow has been spotted on a catwalk with cup marks down her back. The Rock Johnson recently featured on, I think it was an Instagram post, I think I may have shared it. The Olympic swim team, I believe it was 5 years ago now, the American swim team attended races, and they had cup marks on their back. And why would they use it? Well, I've just left that on there for a couple of minutes. There's a very slight mark. Maybe what I might do is just leave one on for longer than that, and then you'll see it at the end. So what it does is, your body interprets that. So I have this just stuck on my arm. It's not painful at all. There's a tightness, yes. I can sense it, yes, but it's not sore. So what it does is, it induces a kind of inflammatory response in your body, which in turn kicks your lymph system into action, and it will feed the body with nutrient-rich blood to heal what it perceives as inflammation. But it's not painful inflammation. So if you think that you would say, like a day like today, where a lot of people might be out doing a heap of work in their garden or something, or barbecues, whatever, and that can be stressful in itself. So if you work on those muscles and you induce them to have that inflammatory response by bruising them or causing red marks, while they're healing and your lymph system is sending it nutrient-rich blood, the body is treating itself naturally. So it's an amazing thing for treating sore muscles. I cannot emphasize how wonderful it is. How wonderful. I've treated a lot of people for the first time with cupping, or a lot of people who've experienced cupping for the first time. I've got the pleasure of treating them, and it looks like it should hurt, and other people will look at marks on your body and go, oh my God, but it's not painful. It's it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. There's a husband and wife I can think of, and I've treated her a number of times, and her husband thought it must be an agony, so he said, please just take it easy with me. And all I can say, he's coming back for the last number of weeks, and the man is feeling way better, and his muscles are loving it. So I've just left that on for a few minutes. So now maybe you can see the red circle there, just the circle of the cup. So as the nutrient-rich blood is fed to that area to heal the perceived inflammation, it's feeding the muscle. It is pretty damn amazing. And then we have a couple of smaller cups that would be deemed to be, or you would find them as facial cups. One of whom, sorry, I put a little bit of fluff on that. This one and this teeny tiny one. So I would use this one on the body too, not just on the face, but a bit like the facial rolling. You know, you're rolling and you're using it across your face. It's a natural, with a oil or moisturizer of some description. Now I would find this a wee bit more draggy than, oh thank you very much Breach, than the facial rolling. But what was lovely is you use that and then you cool down that inflammation, because perhaps you don't want that redness on your face. Your back is a different, you know, you can cover it up with clothing. But I have had a lady I can think of, and she was lying on the table and she loved being bruised from her cut marks, and she mentioned something about going to her husband's 40th birthday party, and I said to her, oh, you're not happening to wear a backless dress? And she said, oh yeah, I am. And I thought, no, I'm not going to leave him. And she said, no, it's fine. But I figured, you know, after maybe the 20th person has asked you why you've got these marks on your back, you might be pretty peeved that you had gone for it, because it doesn't have to necessarily leave mark. It really depends on the person, how easily you bruise. It depends on how long the cups are left on for, or what is going on underneath the muscles that are being treated. So yeah, so the cupping with the small one then would be, this doesn't really hold, you know, the diameter of it is tiny in comparison to, let's say, the 30ml bottle. This is tiny, very, very small. I don't know, it's probably a centimetre. So it's not going to suck up much skin, so it's not really going to hold it. It's going to fall off, and now it's going to make a liar of me. So you pop and hold. You can hear it. I was kind of farting. And you know, I'm 79. All of these treatments work wonders. So I would also use this cup in particular, because it's got a nice long handle, across the pectoral muscles. So if somebody came into me with a shoulder issue, I would generally always cup the upper trapezius muscle. I would needle all around their shoulder area, depends on their story, depends on their symptoms. I may use moxa on it, which would help alleviate and add a little bit of heat and help alleviate a little bit of inflammation. And I often find by treating the pec muscles across the front, and I would start from the origin, out to the insertion, you know, using oil and rubbing across, because obviously your shoulder hangs off here, it hangs off your back muscles, and you most definitely you could have some kind of issue here as well. I would use it on arms. Particularly I can think of a lady recently, and due to her job she has a little bit of issues in her fingers, and this is great for working out that fascia, relieving knots. It's so nice, I just cannot emphasize. Now look, you can quite easily do this kind of work on yourself. Obviously it's very hard to cup your own trapezius muscle, your upper back. But this kind of thing, yes, absolutely, one can certainly do it at home. And any kind of massage which stimulates the circulation helps inflammation. Now, not perhaps at the initial phase of injury, but you know, they're in shortly after. And then of course you can use your facial rollers again, cooling it down after bringing blood to the area. But that doesn't mean that in underneath all of the superficial skin that the blood circulating has cooled down. The body will still actively move that. I would use this small little one down on somebody's wrist to get things to stimulate. And it leaves little teeny tiny round marks, but this won't mark as much as the other ones. It's a very interesting thing to do. You know, this is an area that would be kind of tender in people, the joints. Help stimulate. And of course, you know, I'm working my own right hand quite a bit, so it's good for me to cup my lower arms all the time as well. So I could, when I treat somebody, usually it's part of acupuncture. I do have a couple of people that would come and have cupping with craniosacral therapy, and a little bit of massage out at the end. But cupping is usually part of acupuncture. It's not necessarily, doesn't necessarily have to follow that one has needles with it. But I personally like to cup, depending on what's going on for the person. Before, I find it really helpful to relax the muscles and settle the person on the table, and to induce that sense of calm and relaxation, and then to needle. It depends on the issue. And sometimes I might just, while needles are in the back, I might cup somebody's calf muscles. You know, they might have expressed that they had a little bit of tightness around there, and while needles are working up top, I can be working down the bottom. You can also use this one, and as I said, lower legs, obviously limbs can be worked on as well. Plantar fasciitis, that affects the soles of the feet. Sorry, that's my representation of the sole of the foot with my hand. And you're doing the same thing, sliding and gliding with a little bit of oil, and it works out those muscles. Plantar fasciitis affects the soles of the feet, but sometimes it can be caused from a number of things, but it could be from the Achilles tendon, could be from tight calf muscles. Bathing your feet is a great one as well, but cupping works a dream on loosening that up. For lymph drainage, even on the feet, top of the feet, moving the lymph. Great, around the ankles, it's wonderful. And that'll be that one, or perhaps this one, this small one. The other ones are a little bit too big for smaller areas of the body, so it's wonderful that you can get smaller cups that can help with that. And then for boosting somebody's immune system, the reason you would do cupping, you would be, again, cupping the upper back because your lungs are there, and by boosting the lungs, you're boosting somebody's immune system. So particularly in this, I suppose, current climate at the moment, anybody with hay fever that's got any breathing difficulties can be wonderful for that. The very first time I had cupping, I had a slightly stuffy nose, and not really, slight cold, I suppose you could say. No other symptoms. I had cupping on my back, and when I got up, I felt I could really breathe. It's pretty awesome. It's amazing. If you have never experienced it, I really recommend you find somebody local to you, or you're very welcome to come to court, who will do cupping. It's a really, really nice treatment. And like I said, when you bruise or when you have a redness, when you leave the treatment table and the treatment space, your body is treating itself as it heals that area. So it's a wonderful take-home kind of therapy. And some parts of you may bruise. You may have a pain in your shoulder out here, and yet it might be the lower part of your mid-back that might bruise, and you might go, wow, I don't get why there's bruised and not up around here on my upper shoulder, because it's all interconnected. As I say, going back to the fascia surrounds the whole of your body in underneath your skin. It's like a skin beneath your skin. It connects top to bottom, left to right, inside to outside. So by working on one part of fascia, you're working on another. A demo and a kind of an explanation around it, just using this bag here, this cloth bag that I have. So if you think of the fascia of the body being like an upside down unicorn, and some part of it is feeling a tightness, so we have a pull, so it affects the whole lot, it affects the rest. That would have been the way it was kind of explained to us when we were doing craniosacral training. So when you've got a pull somewhere, it has a knock-on effect around the rest. So not saying that people don't feel the pain where they have the pain, or they have the issue, but sometimes it's not always right there, which is phenomenal. And we as acupuncturists would use cupping as a diagnostic method. So where there's shows on the body that there's a sign of inflammation, that would be most definitely a place I would needle, regardless of what the person had told me, where they felt the pain. And I'm not saying that people don't know their own bodies, but sometimes where we feel it isn't exactly where it's coming from, though, necessarily. It's just wonderful. I can't stress enough how wonderful cupping is. If you've never tried it, I highly recommend it. For anybody who works at an office desk, does a lot of physical labour, anything that involves a lot of muscular use, it's a wonderful way to have a treatment. And it is said that 5 minutes of cupping is equal to 30 minutes of a deep tissue massage. But the difference is by using suction, like so, and moving that, you're not using pressure. So it's a wonderful thing. You can use cupping sort of over and back the spine really gently. But you can't do that with massage because you've got to be very careful about the vertebrae. I've used it on very young kids of like 3. I've used it on, I think, people in their 70s. I've used it for shoulders, backs, sciatic nerve issues, pregnant ladies, people, as I say, who've come for that, come for cupping on their back, and maybe they've got a gynae issue going on, and we'll turn them over and help with that with needles and acupuncture. So yeah, it's very versatile, and I can't highly recommend it. And useful, a bit like the facial rollers, cupping and facial rollers. You can use them anywhere on your body. So thank you very much, Breed, for your compliment. I treated Breed a couple of weeks back when she had a lot of pain in her back, and thankfully she's feeling a lot better. She slept really well that first night too, which is always a bonus. Rest, you can't deny the power of rest and recuperation. So if you have any other questions and you want to pop them underneath this post, feel welcome to, and I will endeavour to get back to anybody and answer them. So if you haven't experienced it thus far, I do suggest you try and find somebody who's local to you and try cupping out for yourself. Like a lot of things, acupuncture, sound therapy, craniosacral therapy, a lot of the things I do actually, experience is the best explanation. So I do hope you have a lovely afternoon, whatever you get up to. Stay safe out there, and hopefully you've got a bit of sunscreen on. Thank you very much for joining me.